Hey,
Hey everyone,
I
how
just
is
realised I'm
everybody
in the
doing?
private chat.
Are you in private?
I know I was on the private chat, so I wasn't seeing anything. There we go. Hey, folks.
How you doing, Chris?
Yeah, I'm okay, thanks. How are you?
Good, thank you. It's like we're just at this second, like,
I know.
met up. How you doing? But
Um,
we literally only had like a minute and a half, didn't we, this time before we due
yeah,
to go live?
as per usual, my fault, folks, because I was having problems with tech. Everything was just melting on me, so managed to pull myself together just at the last minute, though. So we're all sorted. But yeah, I'm good. I had my team lunch today, so I did
Did you?
with my team in work. Yeah, so we finished at 3 o'clock and then went to a place nearby, near my office for lunch. So that was nice.
Oh, cool. That's cool. We've
Yeah.
got ours tomorrow, so we've got
Oh,
a buffet lunch, and then a quiz in the
oh,
afternoon,
nice.
all staff quiz. Um, so that should be fun. But I don't break up until Tuesday,
Right.
although all our learners kind of finish tomorrow. But yeah, Tuesday. So I'm ready. I'm so ready.
I know the feeling. I finish up on Thursday, next Thursday, and that'll be me for, well, it's just under 2 weeks it works out as. I don't go back. I don't go back until the third, Wednesday the third.
Oh,
So
that's nice.
yeah, all I've taken is the 2 days holiday. Because we get the Monday and Tuesday of each week public holidays. So I've just taken the Wednesday, Thursday in between off, and I get
Yeah.
a good 2 weeks out of it. So it was good.
Oh, that's cool. I've
Yeah.
I go back on. I think it's the second, or yes, because the bank holiday doesn't fall at the weekend this time, does it? That was
Right.
like last year, so they add a bank holiday on to the end of it if that's the case. But we've got our training days on the 4th and 5th, so I don't really know what we're going to do on the 2nd and 3rd, but we'll cross that bridge after Christmas. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm feeling festive. I've got a snowball.
Oh, very
I thought
nice.
I'd have a Christmas drink with you, being as this is our last catch up before Christmas.
I know that's true. I was actually going to ask you. I probably should have made a point in asking you this, Simon, before we went live. But you know, we usually do a Boxing Day bash. I was going to ask if
Yeah,
you wanted to do one. But we
yeah, yeah,
can we can sort out details like later on. But just while I remember, we should chat
yeah.
about it.
I bet it'll probably be like our 4th year, will it, of doing a Boxing Day bash?
So yeah, I think it will be.
Well, then it's become
Yeah,
a tradition, hasn't it? It has to happen.
I know, we can't not.
Shall
Yeah,
we
totally fine.
say hello to people in the chat? So,
Yeah, we should probably
um,
do that and just stop ignoring them and talking between ourselves. shouldn't we?
how you doing? Yeah, this is what I'm doing for Christmas.
Yeah, I know.
So we've got Antoinette in. So Tony's here, and then
Hey Tony.
Sandra and Red Wing. I've lost the scroll down button. Where's that? I've had loads of technical problems, as well over the last couple of days. Phone,
Yeah.
PC, everything.
Oh,
We've got Robin. Hi, Robin, and
hey
Kathy.
Robin.
Bookish and Witchy. It's a cool name, isn't it? I can't scroll down. I've lost the ability on my mouse. I don't know if you can take over from that.
Who was the last person you said?
Bookish and Witchy after Robin.
Robin. I can see Kathy from Tortoise Shell Moon as well. Did you say
Yeah.
Kathy? Um, Creative Intentions, Holly. Hi, Holly.
Hello.
Um, oh yeah, I see Bookish and Witchy. Laura. Laura Bondurant. Um, oh gosh, Macchione. Do I want to say that? From Italy. So probably, yeah, Macchione Cheto.
Right.
Don't know if you said Tony. We've got Meadow Sage here. Hi, Meadow Sage. How are you? Robin says, you Brits are so lucky. I always had to work the day before and the day after Christmas. So I think it depends. It's not an all over Britain thing. It depends what industry you work in, Robin. So I know that, well, when I worked in retail, we actually got Christmas Day and the day after, the 26th, we got those 2 days. And we also got New Year's Day as well. In my current work, I get those three plus I get the second, because the second working day, like the second working day of the year, so like the 2nd of January, is a public holiday in Scotland, but it's not in England. But we actually get that. So, but
I've had to work Christmas Day before, and
yeah,
working in retail. Like you said, Chris, it depends on the industry, doesn't it? But I only have had to do it the once, and we had to take it in turns, like those that didn't work the Christmas before, that sort of thing. So yeah, it was only something like 2 till 8 on
right.
Christmas Day, but it was the longest shift ever.
Yeah, I
And
was going to
nobody
say
came
that's
in.
like that's right smack bang in the middle of the day.
Yeah, but because they used to say we're open 365 days of the year, they had to stick with it.
Yeah,
And was like, just don't open. There's no point. There's
or just
hardly
open in
any
the
sales.
morning, like open in the morning when and that way you get the rest of your day. Everyone gets the rest of their day, and they can still claim to be open every day.
Yeah.
Ugh, I don't know. But anyway, Lily Rose is here. I don't know if we've said
Hi,
hi to
Lily
Lily
Rose.
Rose. Yeah, I think we got Holly. Janet 445. Hi Janet, how are you doing? Nicole, a cottage witch, says hello from Canada. It's a nice snowy day there.
I bet it is.
It's just rainy here. There's no snow, just rain. But I can't complain because snow means terrible driving conditions. Willow Owl, greetings from Florida in the US. Hi Willow, how you doing? And that takes us to the bottom from what I can see.
Yeah. Willow Owl, last one. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool.
So I was frantically, well, I say frantically, I haven't got a frantic in me at the moment. But I'm like,
Put it in order.
because full confession, although I've mixed two piles up, so I don't know what I'm doing. We were supposed to go live last week, and I wasn't feeling my best last week. And I said to Chris, would you mind if we just postponed for a week? And he was like, yeah, that's absolutely fine, because he's always very accommodating. And then it's just been full on. Like I said, I'm ready to break up, but it's full on. It's that time of year. And Chris messaged me a couple of hours ago saying, are we still on for later? And I looked at the phone and I was like, what's he talking about?
Stay on about it.
What do you mean
Ah,
later?
Scottish twat.
And then it just dawned on me, and I thought, oh gosh, yeah, it's Thursday, and we put it back a week. So yeah, so I've been kind of rushing around, and then I thought, well, do you know what? This is probably the one deck that I don't need to really prepare for, and I've never been like that, because I really do believe, fail to prepare. No, what is it? Fail to prepare to fail. And I live by that in my work and everything else. And then, but I was like, well, I know this deck so well, it's a deck that I absolutely love. I've banged on about it for years. I don't really need to prepare. And then suddenly we're just about to go live. We hooked up like a minute off before, and I was like, I don't have a deck in order of all my copies of Deviant Moon, except for the Paradoxical. And if I'm showing my favorite cards, I don't really want to show them from the Paradoxical. I kind of brought that into the collection because of my love of Deviant Moon. But I've at least got them into majors and the suits now, but they're just not in order, but that's fine. So So yeah, so that's what I was doing. If I seemed distracted, it was just because I was playing around with the cards whilst Chris was doing the introductions and saying hello. So
That's all right. That's quite all right. We don't mind. I'm
but
fairly nervous, to be honest.
I appreciate your understanding, Chris. When I was
No,
sitting here
no.
waiting for you to come on, I was thinking, what is he like?
No, no. Oh, you're fine. Oh, Malamir's here. Hi, Malamir. How you doing?
Hi, Malamir.
Malamir still can't read comments, folks. So if you're trying to speak to her and she doesn't answer, that's why. But she is here. And if anyone's got a burning question for Malamir, then get one of our attention and we can try and ask it if we can.
Yeah. So, in terms of why we're here, what we're doing, everybody can see now. We come on once a month and we look at a deck that both Chris and I have in our collection. They're not new decks, hence it being called Throwback Thursday, but it's to give a little bit of love to decks that perhaps don't get the same level of airtime as perhaps they once did. And we feel that they deserve to have that, that second look, particularly. And one of our prompts is, how do we work with the deck? How long have we worked with the deck? That sort of thing. And, we all, myself, I'm prolific in terms of doing unboxings and walkthroughs. But it's nice also to then talk about a deck that's been in our collection for a number of years and what we like about it, and sometimes perhaps what we might not like about it, but we try and give an honest opinion. And I think what's worked well so far, I don't know if you would agree, Chris, is that sometimes we have very different views, don't we, about the deck? Particularly when it gets to our favorite cards. I think last month was the one where we seemed to. It was almost like every single one, wasn't it? We had very similar views about them. So, which is good because
that was quite cool.
I really like that as well, because then we get to, if we always had the same thoughts, that it kind of, for me, wouldn't make it as interesting, because it's nice to get differing views. And we always enjoy it as well when you guys in the chat offer your thoughts as well about the deck. And it could be that you're seeing it for the first time, and that's great as well, because you can also add your thoughts and what your initial reactions are. But a lot of the decks that we've been reviewing are popular decks that particularly in the online community, people have used for years. So it's good to get that perspective as well, if you've been working with it for a long while, what you enjoy, etc.
Yeah, I learn a lot as well by chatting to people with different views on things. So it's this is an interesting learning experience for me. I love doing that generally with tarot, like having a conversation with someone about, maybe like a particular card or even like a specific deck, and getting their ideas on the different images in the cards. It can be quite enlightening, I think.
Yeah, I think so. So in case you didn't know, the deck of the month, the deck that we are going to be talking about, is the Deviant Moon Tarot by Patrick Valenza. If you are in the chat and you've never heard of this deck, then that's okay. I think you probably will be in a minority, because would you think it's a fair statement to say that it's a bit of a Marmite deck, in your opinion, Chris?
I've not heard of very many people that don't like it, to be fair.
Really?
Yeah. Is there a big kind of a group of people that don't gel with it?
I don't know if I'd say don't like it, but I think a lot of people can't connect with it. They might say that it's been a bit too dark, or the images are a bit too scary. I kind of used to make it my mission to try and turn people on to the Deviant Moon. So like Jen Phoenix, when she was here, I gifted her a copy that I'd edged in gold and had a nice bag for. And she was like, this is a deck I never would have bought, but because you've given it me, I'm going to give it a go. I don't know how successful that was, but yeah, I think some people either really, really love it like I do, or they're like, I've tried and I can't. But I've also heard people say, well, I'm going to give it another go, you know? So
Right.
if we achieve that tonight, I'll be happy.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be interested to know, because I know there's a few people that have been looking forward to this because they particularly like the deck, and they're looking forward to kind of a geeking out about it and hearing people's views and stuff. Meadow Sage says, I've heard of this deck, but I don't have it. Sandra loves the images. Robin says, I always felt it had a sort of industrial or urban feel to it that put me off.
Oh,
fair enough.
The landscape for me is part of the charm, but we'll come on to that anyway, won't we? But
yeah. Just some information about the deck, I guess. That it was first released in 2008 by Patrick Valenza. Obviously, he's the artist, the mastermind behind the Deviant Moon. The actual Deviant Moon Tarot, Patrick independently publishes a lot of his decks, so you'll know that if you've gone to buy like the Triomphe de la Luna. His Oracle decks, is Mildred Payne's Oracle. He produces independently most of his stuff, but the Deviant Moon is one deck that is mass market that was picked up by US Games. And as far as I'm aware, that's still the case. That was certainly how I got mine. But yeah, to talk a bit about the production. So the cardstock's kind of a difficult one. I don't know what version you've got there, Simon, but the version that I have of the Deviant Moon is the borderless. Or you're the same? Okay, so we're both going to be talking about the same version here.
Yeah, I've got bordered as well. But I was going to talk about this when we get to our favorite cards. But yeah,
cool. Yeah. So there are different versions of this deck. There's a bordered version and there's the borderless version. And as far as I'm aware, now you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Simon, I think they're different sizes. This is the borderless version that I've got, as I say. Let me compare it to a kind of a US Games type size so as you can see what we're dealing with here. Because there is a fair difference, I think. Oh, my camera's very much zoomed in. We don't really need that.
So there is a a width as well with the bordered. If I put them together like that, you can see there's the bordered is obviously wider, but just by a smidgen, it's the borderless is a little bit taller.
Yeah.
So it's a different shape.
Right. The borderless is a fair bit taller than your standard, US Games type size. Your standard tarot size. So I suppose that's something to know about the deck. If you particularly don't like larger decks, if you go out your way to get smaller decks, maybe wanting to have a wee think about the size of this one, because it could be quite difficult to handle if you're dealing with long ways like that. So like say for overhanding or for riffle shuffling or anything. The cardstock is lovely. The cardstock is your standard US Games, good quality. It feels kind of like your Superior Smooth make playing cards type cardstock. It's really good.
Yeah, it's got flex, but it's got that nice US Games waxy feel. US Games cards have that kind of almost like a waxy feel to them.
Yeah, particularly the Centennial Smithwaite has got that
Yes.
waxiness to it, hasn't it?
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
the packaging, this for me, the version I've got just came in a tuck box, standard, everyday tuck box. I know lots of people don't like tuck boxes; they don't particularly bother me. I've had this for 6 years, and my tuck box is still in good condition. To be fair though, I'm not taking this deck out in a bag with me. It's not getting bashed about and stuff. It sits on the shelf, except when I'm using it. So maybe if I was doing that, then it wouldn't be in such good condition. But there you go. And Simon, what kind of a packaging is yours the same, or have you got? Is that a bigger box you had?
So, I'll need to grab, because I've got them all in bags and things like that. But just to say, I put them in order. They're all in order now.
Oh, well done, you. Look at you doing that on the
fly. I've got an empty box. Well, it's got the little blue, little white book in. Standard tuck box, like you said. If you order the bordered version, it comes in this wider box with like a sleeve and then a tray underneath, but it also has a bit like the old one JJ Swift with a pull out what do you call them, like a fold out with a spread on it. I've got two of these, one that I just got on Amazon, but then I bought one from Patrick. And this is my favorite because on the pull-out spreadsheet, and it's not all going to fit in, but you get like a Deviant Moon spread. But on that, he signed it. So Patrick Valenza 2018. And then I didn't know until, because I kind of kept this as like a backup. I didn't know until somebody mentioned it, and I rushed to check mine. He also did a little illustration on the flap, and he does that quite often. And if you buy direct from him, he even doodles on the brown cardboard boxes. But I particularly like that because it matched my Deviant Moon, one of my Deviant Moon tattoos that I have, and he signs it as well. So it's signed Patrick Valenza. So it's quite nice, and that comes in, like I say, a tray where the tuck box fits inside, and then you have your fold out. And then people have been very kind over the years. And where's the cloth? I've got this beautiful. This is what I keep my main Deviant Moon in. This beautiful cloth. Which is quilted, and then it's got the Deviant Moon on that side, which matches that tattoo.
Oh, nice.
So that's cool. And then for my bordered, I've just got this zip case, which has got moons and suns on it. And then I've also got a custom-made box for, now this one, it's got embossed on the side, Deviant Moon. This one, I had to do it so it would fit. This is a trimmed bordered version, which I just edged in black. So I've got the borderless, the bordered, a couple of each, and then this one, which is a trimmed version. So that makes it even smaller. So when you compare, let me grab the tower quick. Oh, I've opened straight on it. That was good. So you can see the difference then in size between when you take the borders off. It's quite significant.
There's this difference in the. I don't know if it's just the way the camera's picking it up, but the images look like different in terms of the lighting.
Yeah, very much so. The bordered is darker, It's a completely different brown. This one here
Right.
is more of a chocolatey, milky brown, isn't it?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, there is a color difference in terms of the saturation.
Yeah.
And
See, that's
notice
quite
as
cool though,
well.
Simon, because sorry, I'll let you finish.
No, I was going to say, the other thing I was going to say is the beam from the spaceship is different completely. So here it's just like a solid yellow beam,
Hmm.
whereas here there is a pattern
Oh
in it. Do
yeah.
you see that? So there is a difference between the two. So
Yeah.
it's little things, tiny little things like that that I noticed, but overall it's the same image. It's just expanded on the borderless
Yeah.
edition.
See, that's quite cool because Robin's saying he's waiting for like a in the tin version. I don't know, Robin, if that's more to do with the size of it or if it's maybe more to do just having a good solid tin casing for it. But if someone was wanting, it's not quite a mini. It looks as though it's maybe just a wee bit smaller than your standard tarot size. But if someone was wanting a smaller version of the kind of a borderless, then that's quite a good option to buy the bordered version and trim it. Nice wee project
Yeah,
for someone as well.
I like the way it came down and trimmed up. And then someone, it's Willow, isn't it? I recently purchased the deck after seeing the video on the Homescape. Absolutely love it. Hopefully one day there'll be a pocket edition. Few people are asking about a pocket edition, yeah. But I was just going to say as well, while we're talking about kind of specifications, what's really interesting is that this feels like a really large deck to handle, because people have also said that the borderless, so it's quite a chunky deck, not necessarily in its thickness, but the size. And this one is even bigger. But then when you trim it off, it becomes so much smaller because it's double bordered. Do you see there's a border and then like an
Yeah.
edging, which are color themed for the suits. So there's
Okay.
like a red for the swords, and then there's like a green and a blue. Yeah, so a bluey green color. So you get like a double border. So if you can just take the white off and still have the colored, or you could do what I did and just take it all off, and then it does become a much smaller deck.
Yeah. Cool. That is it's interesting that we've spent a good bit of time just talking about the different kind of versions and sizes and I hadn't realized that there was subtle differences in the images between
Yeah,
the two main versions. That's really interesting. The other thing I suppose to talk about, and this is really for me one of the big things about this deck, is the book. Now, it's funny that you've said that you gifted Jen Phoenix a copy of the deck because I gifted her this. So I did.
did you?
Yeah, I did. I sent her the Deviant Moon book because I knew she didn't have it. And it seemed like a Jen Phoenix type thing to have because I knew that she had the deck because the very first tarot playdate that I watched, I'm pretty sure it was the Four of Swords, and she was showing the Four of Swords from this deck, so I knew that she had the deck. Um, so yeah. Anyway, the book is absolutely fantastic. It's not just. I mean, we get lots of information, explaining each of the cards and the meanings, the interpretations and whatnot, and reversed interpretations as well. But there's so much backstory. There's so many wee tidbits from just Patrick and when he's creating the deck and his process and stuff like that. It really is. I would recommend this book to someone who didn't even have the deck. It's a thing of its own, isn't it?
It is. It's amazing. It's like a coffee table art book. But
Yeah,
what I love, he talks about his childhood a lot in this, which and he puts his own childhood drawings in that with the inspiration behind it. And it's jam packed as well as a guidebook. because you do get all of the. But I love that as well. The original death illustration, and the horse that inspired the death card. It's just absolutely brilliant, and his sketches and everything's in here. What I did want to say about the book as well, and I mentioned it before, because as I said, there's lots of people who say, "Oh, I just can't get on with it. It's too dark. It's too scary." That sort of thing. He talks about there's a chapter called Confronting Nightmares, which is a brilliant read. And Robin also, he talks about why he used like the industry and that sort of kind of cemetery and power stations and old mills and things like that. But it's talking about confronting nightmares in this little paragraph here that I highlighted a few years ago. He said, on first impressions, the Deviant Moon Tarot may appear to some as a dark deck. However, in the following pages, you'll find that this is hardly the case. This is a deck about self-empowerment. The Deviant Moon merely asks you to look within yourself and face your fears. If some of the cards frighten you, it might be because you have a predisposed negative association in your mind to some aspect of the imagery. Know that you have the power to dissolve the shadows that haunt you whenever you choose. And I really like that, because that's in essence what shadow work is all about, isn't it? Where we have to sit with why we feel the way we do, or why we have a certain reaction to a certain stimulus, So I just thought that was really interesting when people say, "Oh, I just can't." I think, I wonder why, and have you kind of explored that? And it's fine if you can't. There's certain decks that, put a Toth deck in my hand, and I don't really want to explore it. So we all have our thing, don't we? But
yeah, I actually understand when people say that. I like any deck that maybe brings a new perspective to a card, and this deck does that a lot in terms of a lot of the images and the illustrations, the meanings that we get more naturally from this deck, I feel veer more on the shadow side than they do on the light side. So cards, just off the top of my head, for example, like the Hermit, which I know we're going to get into talking about specific cards, but that Hermit is a pretty dark Hermit. It really touches on some of the more difficult things about the Hermit card, just in and of the image itself. And there are like other cards that do that as well. I guess we'll probably come to that, but I feel as though it does pull that dark stuff out a lot easier now. I quite like that, because I like any deck that challenges me and makes me think about a card in a different way, be it for positive or negative or nothing or neutral. But I can kind of understand why some people might feel that this is a deck that does feel quite, because if you're pulling cards that are usually like giving you quite a uplifting positive message, and all of a sudden you're I don't know, like go back to the Hermit, you're kind of crouched underneath this bridge, in fear. Like, I can get why that would be challenging for people.
yeah, I just noticed as well, Tony said, I really wish Patrick would release the majors with the gold backgrounds as per his original paintings when he was 15. So that's those ones, isn't it? And they don't have titles or anything on them. He's got them. I did an interview with Patrick back in 2018. And afterwards he said, if I ever go to New York, I've got to let him know, and he's going to meet up with me. And he said, you can have a look at them, because apparently they're really large as well. They're like that big.
Oh wow.
And I'm aiming for May for New York, so I'll be giving him a buzz.
Oh, you need to go live together from that graveyard. Is that in New York, the one that he was in when he was live with you?
I think he went to Salem, if my memory serves.
Oh,
I think he
okay.
went to Salem, which isn't
Okay.
a million miles, but
Yeah.
I won't have transport, so that's the only thing. But yeah. So, how long have you had it? Did you just say that 20? No, it came out in 2008, didn't it? You were saying.
I've had it about, I think it's 6 years or coming up 6 years. I'm pretty sure it was 2017. Sandy got me it as a Christmas present, and it was the very first tarot deck that Sandy got me. So
Was it?
this is a special deck for me, yeah, just for that reason alone. But yeah, so coming up 6 years.
Did he get it you because it was on a wish list, or did he just see it and think you would like it?
So I had given him a few different options, and I asked him to look at the images and pick what one he was most drawn to for me, but also one that he quite liked, and he picked that one.
Oh, that's amazing.
Nice.
That's nice. Willow Owl has just ordered the book from Amazon, so it's still available
good
as well.
for you.
And just wanted to point out that Golden is now what was Golden before? It got numbers. It's 17.
Yeah.
Golden 17. Can't remember now.
1789.
1789. That's it. I've just seen the message above. So, in case people are wondering who Golden is. So yeah, I got it before I had a channel. So I'm gonna say 2016, I think. And up until that point, I kind of viewed tarot as quite traditional. So the decks that I'd been exposed to obviously was the Rider-Waite Smith, and it was decks like 1JJ Swiss, Morgan Greer, and I saw two decks around the same time, which was Deviant Moon and the Nicoletta Ciccoli. And the first time I saw the Deviant Moon, it was like, I don't know how to put it. It was like a jaw drop. I was like, oh my God, there's something about those images. And I didn't know a tarot deck could be like that, that it could deviate so far away from like a traditional. And my first thought was, oh my God, this artwork is incredible. I just don't know if I'll be able to read with it. And then there was also, and I said this to Patrick when I interviewed him, there was like a remembering. It was like some of the images, for instance, the Chariot card, this guy in the Chariot card, it's like I know him from somewhere. That was like, where have I seen that image from before? Do you know what I mean? And the only thing I could pull it down to was like childhood dreams. There was a familiarity about the images. And when I said that to him, he was like, well, I'm really glad you said that, because that is where this deck comes from. So this deck comes from my childhood dreams. So I also kind of wonder, thinking, Patrick and I are of similar age. He's a little bit older than me. But whether there was certain kind of programs like perhaps Doctor Who and, all that stuff, perhaps in the 70s, that I would go to bed and dream about and have these kind of nightmares or weird dreams about, and maybe he did too. I don't know, but there was certainly a familiarity about the images, and therefore, I don't know if you've ever experienced that, Chris, with a tarot deck, where you look at them and you think there's such an instant, deep connection because there's something very familiar about it, that then it bonds you to it.
I don't know if I've had it with familiarity. I've certainly had it where I just it's like it's speaking to me. It's it's not literally, obviously, but the images just like, because with a lot of tarot decks, like there'll be particular cards that speak loudly to you. But I've certainly I know that, like, with the the light seers, for instance, like as soon as I picked that up and read with that, like as soon as I got it, the day I got it, it was like, this is, that this is just a totally different level. And it wasn't because of feeling familiar with it or like I'd seen it someplace before. It was more just like an instant bonding, like kind of like when you meet someone and you just hit it off right away, like you just could talk for hours. It's kind of like that.
Yeah, yeah. And do you find, and I know obviously you've also got the personal connection because it was a gift from Sandy, so that's going to add a whole another layer, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the similar way that Jen said, well, I never would have bought the Deviant Moon, but now because it's always going to remind me of my first ever trip to England, it's going to remind me of coming to stay with you. But do you find that you use the Deviant Moon for a particular purpose, or would it just be a deck that you would grab to do a general reading with?
I use it generally, not for any particular type of reading. I would say that I definitely use it more this time of year, more the dark time of year. It does feel like a darker deck, or a deck for the winter and type months. But in terms of the types of readings that I do with it, I would say that it works, pretty much like a standard deck. I feel as though I can use it for pretty much anything. With the caveat, like I said before, I feel as though the messages do veer on more of the shadow side. So that's something that I need to bear in mind. You know what I mean? If I'm in a particular mood where I want rainbows that are farting unicorns that are farting rainbows, then this maybe isn't the deck for that. But very much general type messages.
I'd love to see a deck now that has a farting unicorn that's producing rainbows.
Yeah. I mean, what else do unicorns fart if not rainbows?
I just wanted to address.
I was just going to.
Yeah, all I would say is yes, the hermit is the hermit, and the archetype of the hermit would lead you to a particular response. However, when you look at, and I've just got the hermit card here from this deck, it's what else is the hermit conveying. So the hermit is the hermit in terms of the archetype, but in individual decks, what else are you getting from this image of the hermit? Does the fish play a part? We often see a hermit with a lantern, perhaps by a cave or on a hill. Here's somebody that's sheltering under what looks like a bridge away from society. So for me, there's different essences and there's different messages. So yes, the hermit is the hermit, but what is this hermit image conveying? So that's how I'd answer that. Was you going to say something too, Chris?
Yeah, I was. First, I thought it might be helpful actually to read from the book the bit about the hermit. So the book says, unable to cope with the stress and turmoil of his daily life, the hermit makes a desperate attempt to hide himself away in an alcove. Taking on a fetal position, he huddles in terror, naked and vulnerable. His shivering body casts an enlarged shadow against the wall, magnifying the overbearing fear that dominates his wretched heart. And it goes on pretty much in those terms. So, for me, normally the hermit is a card about, going within, finding wisdom within, that type of thing. Certainly separating yourself from, from the normal everyday life, whether that's physically, separating yourself from people, or whether it's more of like an internal thing, to gain that enlightenment and that wisdom. That feels very, very, on the darker side of the hermit to me. and the image definitely matches up with it. Now, Modfather, you know, some people, a hermit is a hermit is a hermit. You know, some people, the way they read tarot is it doesn't matter what deck they pick up, they will read the hermit the same way regardless, and they'll read Three of Swords the same way regardless, and so on and so forth, which is absolutely fair enough. I know that I'm pretty sure that Kelly at the Truth and Story reads like that. So I've got, you know, massive respect for, you know, if that's how people read. For me personally, the images are important. I have my idea in my head of what the hermit means, and I will certainly, you know, use that. But the images are important. You know, that they're the bit that actually talks to me, and I feel that it's communicating with the unconscious part of my mind, and it just brings stuff out in the reading that wouldn't otherwise come out. And one of the I asked Rachel Pollock, who's like one of the greatest tarot minds of our time, potentially the greatest, depending on who you speak to. Certainly, if you speak to me, um, I asked Rachel when she was doing an interview on someone else's channel. I'd asked the question, "What advice would you have on becoming good at the tarot?" And one of her pieces of advice was pay attention to what you see, pay attention to what you see in the cards, what you know, to what is happening in the images, look at the pictures. And that's something that I've always tried to bear in mind, and that influences my readings even to this day. So yeah, I suppose for different readers, you know, the hermit will be the hermit regardless, but certainly in this deck for me it's just a bit different.
But and a picture paints tells 1,000 words, doesn't it? I've heard that saying before, and I get it, you know, that. But for me as well, if the hermit is the hermit, no matter what, then I would only need one deck, because that, you know, if I'm just, whenever a hermit comes up, I'm just using hermit as an example because it was mentioned. If just the hermit comes up and I'm just going to give the same response, then I only need one deck. The reason why I've got multiple decks is for reasons like that. And I put Robin's comment up because I really like that, where he said he feels like he's cast out rather than making a choice, which kind of flips the hermit. But he does look, you know, he's in this fetal position, like you said, and he's kind of sheltering and protecting himself, but he's still peeping. He's got the fingers open and there's this eye peeping through. He still wants some connection. He still doesn't want to be totally away, you know. There's still that connection there. But again, this hermit is very different to the Rider-Waite-Smith hermit or a traditional Marseille hermit.
Yeah, very much. Cool. Yeah, so I don't know if we've heard much from people in the chat how they actually use the deck, but that would be interesting if you guys want to post in the chat how you guys like to use the deck. So I said that I use it kind of like a standard deck, but maybe more at certain times of the year. How about you, Simon? How do you use this deck?
I've used it in so many ways because, you know, this particular one is quite well worn now. But initially I did used to use it for shadow work and in a child work because, like I said, it took me back to my childhood. And I did do a video, I think back in 2017, about that, lifting the lid on Pandora's box. But this was one of those decks that was quite instrumental in really getting to address things that perhaps I hadn't addressed from my younger days, where I'd kind of put lids on things and, you know, didn't just thought, oh, I don't need to deal with that. So it was quite a deck for personal use. I have never used the Deviant Moon to read for anybody else. And I think, well, if I'm being honest, I don't 100% know why I haven't done that. But I think now on reflection, it's because it is such a personal deck for me. that if I'm reading for somebody else, I don't know if I'd be able to disassociate. Do you know what I mean? When cards become that familiar to you and you've worked with them on such a deep level, reading for somebody else, I don't know if I would be able to, like I say, disassociate. And I would be worried that I'd be overlaying stuff from me, which is never a good thing if you're going to be reading for someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always that kind of a when you're reading and you've got a deck that is so personal, there's always that thing in the back of your mind where you're like, shit, is this message actually for me? And then I don't know about you, but see, as soon as that seed is planted in my brain, my concentration's gone. That's all I'm thinking about now for the rest of the reading. So it's better that I don't have that kind of distraction.
Yeah. Tony says everyday general reading. Malamia uses Deviant Moon whenever I feel like it. Feel drawn to it for shadow work. Is Orshi here? I'm not sure. I've not seen Orshi.
Not seen her. It's a bit late for Orshi. She's probably in her bed just now, I would think.
Because she says she uses it for financial readings.
That's interesting.
Sandra says, I will just pull this deck at any time. I'm often drawn to work with it, which is why its box is a bit worn now. Bookish, I like this. I use it for when I like to hear the truth, and this deck stops me from being able to sugarcoat something. Certainly got that fact to it, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
To me, the Hermit appears. Willow's talking about the Hermit. And then we've got Creative Intentions. Holly saying, I love Deviant Moon at any time. So that's good. That's good to get their feedback. Can you believe as well? It's 5-2. We've been on for nearly an hour. We've not even done favourite cards yet.
I know, I was thinking that, and I've actually got quite a few favourite cards. I don't know if we're going to end up having to do. I don't know what time you're good to, but might have to do a wee bit of a speeded up version of our favourite cards.
Yeah. Well, you go. I mean, what I am going to say is this deck is a favourite deck, so I could use every card. So all I'm going to do is just, for me, the real standout ones. So I might not have as many because I could literally talk about every card.
Okay, that's fine. So my first one is the Fool. Let's start at the very beginning. There we go. I actually like this Fool because of the reason I was talking about earlier, because it makes me think about a card. It's not even so much in a different way, but it's just that it's a different image saying the same thing. So this is a Fool who's dancing through the streets and and the canal, or and this body of water, dancing through it. I believe this is at night because he's in his pajamas. Everyone thinks, what is he up to? He's one of these people who's maybe like the bit of an outcast, and but he's got zero fucks to give. He doesn't care what anyone thinks of him. And it's that foolishness, it's that aspect of the Fool where it's like he doesn't care because he's got no concept of what's appropriate, or he's not had that I suppose those aspersions cast on him by society yet. So yeah, he just doesn't care. He's quite happy to dance through the canals at night, in his pajamas, because he doesn't know any better, because he's not tarnished by those ideas of what's right, what's appropriate and what's taboo and all that kind of a thing. And I really like that. It reminds me of the David Bowie tarot, the Starman tarot. The Fool in that deck is I think it's the Heoka. It's like the sacred Fool or something. And that's a kind of a similar idea. The person who like be contradictory, and like if it's freezing outside, they'll come out in shorts and t-shirt and they'll act like they're roasting, and the other way about as well. So I love this idea of the Fool. Sorry, I'd said this was going to be a speedy up version, and I'm talking loads.
No, it's absolutely fine. It was interesting that you said I think it's at night time, because I just see this deck as a nighttime deck. Every card I assumed was nighttime. Maybe it's just because of the moon being there, but What was interesting, I got an art card sent with one of the purchases. It was a pentacle card, and there's a beautiful blue sky, and it looked really strange, you know, because it was done on art paper as well, and really
Right.
nice. I've got it in a box, but it seemed really strange to see a beautiful blue sky, because all of these have kind of this
Yeah.
beigey, coppery nighttime, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love the Fool as well, but I'll show the Magician. I love this Magician card. I love that it's got the 4 different hands that are holding one of, you know, the wands, the sword, the cups, the coin. But I really love the shadow audience. You know, they're obviously kind of in front of him, and there's a light that's shining and reflecting their shadow, but there's just something really cool about that image. I like that it's got his finger in the cup as well, and it looks like it's blood. But yeah, I just thought it was really cool. It's almost like a performer, because you can see he's on a stage and he's got his little box, but having the 4 hot arms holding each of the what we used to seeing on the magician's table was pretty cool.
Yeah, nice. I've got the Empress. This is another one where you can kind of get maybe like a bit of a darker side
Yeah.
of the Empress here, and this is because I've read in the book what he says about her, but so like I think it's quite cool because we see this vine coming from within her, and she's obviously growing this thing, and it does touch on themes of like kind of a motherhood, and you know, like or even maybe not necessarily that, but creating something new. But he describes her as kind of a looking back, and she's a bit fearful about, you know, this responsibility that she's now going to have, because it's going to completely change her life. And that's not something I would normally associate with the Empress, is that fear of change and that kind of a fear of the responsibility that she's now going to have. But that's something that Patrick very much writes about, and that's why we see her kind of a looking over her shoulder, and she does look a wee bit concerned. So that's something that's why I quite like that card.
I like this one as well, and the reason, when I first saw it, I thought it was like she was sitting on a reptile, because it always looked like it had like a foot there. But then I realised that, you know, she's permanent. You know, for me, when I think about the Empress in relation to, you know, we have the High Priestess, which is more of the as above, and then we've got the Empress, which is very much our Mother Earth. She's the permanence, and she's, for me, I felt like she'd been sat there that long that she's become part of the world around her, and it's wrapping around her arm, and this flower is growing out of that. But it was just lovely that she's so connected to the earth. Yeah.
Cool. Man, is it me or you?
You go, because we're so far having the more or less the same ones anyway.
I've got the Lovers. Just because it's a little bit naughty, isn't it? He's like,
Yeah.
they are mid-coitus. And it's got the wee snake biting his ankle as well. So yeah, we don't often see that. We see it hinted at in Lovers cards, but we don't often see full-on action. And we see full-on action here, and it's beside the sea, and we don't see that very often in the Deviant Moon. That's not a setting that we often see, so a bit different for that.
Yeah. I mentioned it earlier, but the Chariot card as well, the familiarity around it. I saw people chatting about Charlton and the Wheelers, which was a 70s kind of children's program. I don't get that vibe from it. Maybe something more like Davros from Doctor Who, or I don't know, but there's just something about this character that is on wheels. There's no, you know, they're part of that. There's no legs. They're not sitting in it. They are part of this. It's almost mechanical. But there's, yeah, it's just it's quite an intriguing image.
Yeah. I love that one as well. It makes me think of perseverance and really sticking with something because, again, because of what Patrick said in the book, it's like this person who's been like kind of a, I mean, look at them, they've been repaired and altered and had all of these kind of all of this stuff flung their way, and yet they still find a way to persevere and continue on, and I think it's really cool. The Hermit was my next one. We've talked a lot about it already. Um, yeah, I mean, I said it. I like it when a deck challenges me and makes me see a card in a different way, and for all the reasons that I've already said, this definitely does that. So yeah, I love it.
The Wheel, Wheel of Fortune. That little creature there reminds me of Hanuman, the monkey god with the hat and everything. I just see that there, but looking quite terrified about what the fate is going to be as the wheel turns. But I also love the stonemasonry work around it with, like, again, the famous Deviant Moon skull that you see in the image, the broken heart. It's like,
Yeah,
what life lesson are you about to experience?
yeah,
Are you going to be halted? Are you going to experience death? Are you going to experience a broken heart? But that sort of look of terror of what is my fate?
yeah, yeah. It's proper chaos at play, isn't it? The idea of
Yeah.
spinning the wheel and just seeing how you get on.
And
Right,
the
my next
demon at
one.
the top.
Yeah, exactly. Um, right, my next card. I'm pretty sure I know for a fact that you will have this in your favourites, Simon. But my next one is the Death card.
I knew you were going to say it.
um,
Oh.
yeah, see, that's how I knew you would have it because I've heard you talking about this card before.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's quite a different Death card, isn't it? And yeah,
It's not what people think as well. And it's not what I initially thought. So I thought it was a creature that was being crushed, or about to meet its fate, and it's not at all. And when you read about it, you can see that the parent is pregnant with the big belly, and this is an infant who already is weary of the world and wants to go back to the safe space of the womb from whence it came. And the parent is pushing against that, saying, no, you know, I'm about to bring another, you know, creature into the world, and you've got to stay, you've got to face, and you've got to carry on. It might be difficult, but you can't come back. There's no way back, only forward. So
yeah,
it's that whole sort of, life, birth, hard times. It's
yeah,
such a powerful image, and I just, out of all the cards, this is my favorite in the Deviant Moon. I just think it's incredible. Everything about it, I love it, and I had to get a print so I could frame it, and it hangs above my sacred space in my main room.
yeah.
What do you like about it?
Uh, I can't say it any better than you've just described. I just love the story behind it. Um, yeah, and it's just the image is just really striking.
Hmm.
I like as well that it doesn't have the title. That he's taking that from the Marseille tradition. I think that's
Yeah.
quite cool. Considering this is quite a, well, would you call this a Smith-weight deck? Definitely
I think that was the
inspired that kind of
intention,
way.
but it really deviates away from Smithwaite in a
Yeah,
lot of I mean, we do have justice at 8 and strength at 11,
Yeah.
Which is in keeping with RWS. For me, it's just kind of like it's a standalone deck. It's fully illustrated, so it's not, and he had his Trionfi della Luna for a Marseille style deck, but certainly stuck with the tradition of, death not having a name, not having a title.
Yeah.
Although the Fool has got this, the Fool is without number, isn't it? And death is without name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you, let me ask you this, see if you were to create a tarot deck, Simon, would you name death, or would you leave it unnamed, or would you name it something different? What would you
I think I'd probably leave it unnamed.
Right, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting to know.
What about yourself?
I think I would be the same. I don't think I would name it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, I'm out of majors, actually. I don't have any other majors that I'd picked. I must have decided at that point, right, this is ridiculous. You're just picking every single card, Chris, and I decided, right, enough.
Well, all I've got is the Devil card, because I just love this Devil card. It's very impish. It's quite comical as well as being quite terrifying when you look at, but the whole sort of stance. But yeah, I just think it's a fantastic image.
Yeah.
A really fantastic image.
For me, the figure in that card really stands out from the other figures in the entire deck. I don't know if it's just a striking red. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it really stands out a lot to me.
Yeah, I love his huge kind of hands with these talons and his feet as well. But he has the same eyes as other characters in the deck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That sort of.
Yeah.
But yeah. Keeping you up.
Oh, listen, I'm always yawning, so I'm. So don't mind me. Right. What suit are we doing first, Simon? Cups
yeah, I can do cups. I can go with that.
Okay. So I've got 3 cups cards.
Okay.
The first one I've picked is the 3 of cups. It's quite it's always been quite a nice card for me. I think this one's quite funny because they're in the mouth of this like fish with the big sharp teeth, but get lovely eyelashes. It's just quite comical, really. And I don't know, I feel as though the 3 of cups should be quite comical. It's a jovial kind of a energy, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, that's my first cup.
Mine's the 2. I love the 2 of cups. Again, there's lots of different illustrations in the book around this, taking on quite different forms. But there's something very, I don't know. She's acting quite coy, like she's kind of not showing much interest. I love that he's kind of like a skeleton figure as well, but yeah, it's almost like he's really trying to woo her. She's just she's either being shy and bashful, but he's got his hand up against the wall, like he's really sort of determined to get her attention.
Yeah, she's covering her belly. That's quite interesting.
Yeah, she's like, yeah.
My next one is actually the 6 of cups, and I really like this card because we've got the kind of a Punch and Judy type thing, but it's what that makes me think of. So for me, the 6 of cups is a card where you're kind of like taking yourself back to a happier or maybe simpler time, right? And one of the things are simpler when things are easier when they're more simple, when things are like there's a clear right and a clear wrong, a clear good guy and a clear bad guy. Do you know what I mean? See, when you're younger and you're watching programs and stuff, you're watching your TV shows. There's quite often there's like the goodie and there's the baddie, isn't there? Like it's everything's clear cut, and it's the good triumphs over the evil, and that's how things work. Um, and yet today, like when you watch the news and you watch what's going on and stuff, you just don't know. You're just surrounded by grey area, is what it seems like to me. Um, and I almost like long for that simpler time when everything was so much clearer. I think I felt so much more content and happy when I was clear in my mind about what was who was good and who was bad and what was right and what was wrong, and there wasn't really any nuance to anything. And that, to me, that's how this card should make me feel. So that's quite specific, but that's why I like that card, because I think that's quite a really good image for that card.
And I said this deck really connects me to like uneasy feelings, particularly around my childhood. I used to be terrified of Punch and Judy.
Did you?
There was something, yeah. And it fascinates me now. There's a deck that I really wanted to buy once, but the creator was quite problematic, so I chose not to. But there was something about it. Everything. There was a crocodile whose jaws used to snap with a loud clacking noise that terrified me. Punch scared me to death. Even like the string of sausages, everything about it. I used to hate if I went anywhere and there was a Punch and Judy show and it was like, oh, what's Punch and Judy? I hated it. So again, it's interesting when I first saw this card, I was like, oh my gosh. And it's interesting that, it's like a demon figure as well. I just wanted to mention the 4 as well. That always reminded me of, it looks like very bored, stuck in this tower, an ivory tower, almost Rapunzel like, trapped away somewhere, and then just flicking this cup off, because we often see, particularly in RWS with the 4, that sort of nonchalance and not being aware of things. But normally there's a, what's that thumbs up bubble?
I don't know.
Did you see that?
I did, yeah.
You normally see so freaky. Somebody mentioned that once before and I didn't see it, and I'm like, I don't know what you're on about, and then I just saw it there. Lost my stride now. But yeah, you normally see something being offered, but in this case it's being tossed away. The 3 upright cups are there, but the 4th one is just kind of being tossed away. Did you want to go?
Yep, my next one is the 9 of Cups. Just because I think that genie image is quite cool. Yeah. Again, at the seaside, I quite like these cards that have got a different setting from the norm. And yeah, like I say, the genie image is just quite cool, and it's for lots of people, this is the wish card. It's the card that tells you that something that you're going to get something that you wish for or something that you want, type thing. Yeah, I just like the image, I think.
Yeah. What suit do you want to do next?
Well, we go for the wands next.
Okay.
So I've got 3 wands cards as well, actually.
Okay. I think I know what 3 it'll be as well.
Do you? Oh, I'm curious now. So what do you think the first one's going to be?
I don't know about your first one, but I know one of them I think will definitely be in there. But my first one is the Ace. Right. Love the aces in this deck anyway, but the Ace of Wands in particular, it reminds me of the Madonna and Child. Now you might think, well, why on earth would you like that? But it's the take on it. I think the face of the baby is really lifelike, almost like a photographic
Yeah.
But it has such a juxtaposition for all the other faces in the deck, where they've got these kind of like two level faces, and it just really stands out and draws you into it. But yeah, it's just like, but again, she's almost like because she's a mother figure in this, and for me, mothers in the tarot are like, as I said, like the goddess. It's like Gaia. The beautiful headdress here with the flowers and the trees growing out of it. I think it's really, really beautiful.
Nice. Okay. My first one is the Two of Wands.
Okay.
And I actually like this because I didn't understand really at first. I had to go to the book, and he says that basically what's happening here is this person is taking two tools that weren't working anymore. Individually, they weren't working anymore. You know, they were broken, or they couldn't do with them what he wanted to do. But he's taken these two tools and put them together and fashioned himself a new tool that works better than, you know, than before. So yeah, that I like that this idea of kind of a you know, working with things, being innovative, and yeah, finding like new through experimentation, finding new ways to use the things that we have in our lives. You know, the gifts that we've got, and the yeah. I just thought that was quite cool.
Cool. The five, I don't normally like the Five of Wands as a card generally. What I really liked about this is that it's characters throughout the deck coming together, and you know, they're kind of, well, as you would imagine. I know they look a little bit different, but it's like the deaf figure here, but in a different, you know, that sort of horsey face. And I really like it. I just like the fact it was like cohesive, bringing characters back into that card. And I think my one is going to be definitely your one. So I'm going to see what you say.
So I've got two left.
Okay, might be your second one then.
Got the 7.
Okay, no, I want the 7. I think it might be your second one.
I've got the 7 and I've got the 8.
Oh no, really?
Yeah.
I really thought you were going to say the 9.
Right. Okay.
But go on then.
Cool.
Talk about the 7 and 8.
I think I like the 7 just because it's a wee bit different. It's someone who's finding their way through a forest, I think, is the idea behind this. So they're lost and they're kind of trying to find their way out. The 8 I think I like because it's you still get the idea of swiftness, but it's just in a slightly different delivered in a slightly different way. So this is someone who's about to kind of swing that scythe and take all of these kind of wands out the game. So it's like the having to take like quick decisive action, but also like once they swing that scythe, they've only really get one bite at the cherry. They've only get one swing of the scythe. So they need to get it right. And that's not something that you would normally particularly take from the Eight of Wands. So I like it in this. And then we've got our wee messenger birds for people who like to see the Eight of Wands as a messenger card. You've still got that there. So yeah.
And I just think this is such a beautiful picture. This is another one that I could easily frame. It's quite melancholy, but when we think of the 9 card, it is that battle hardened, isn't it? And this person is just done, you know, so weary. And again, the 9 of Wands reminds us that better times are ahead. But it's just that dejection and just sitting there, but it's quite, I mean, you can see the sorrow on the face.
Yeah.
Just looks cuts a really lonely figure, but it's really beautiful as well. It's a beautiful image.
It is. Yeah, it's really nice. Okay. I'm just gonna have a quick look at some of the comments, if that's okay. Let's see. So Golden says Two of Cups, women based on classical statue of Venus. Tony loving the nostalgia. So that was when we were talking about the Six of Cups. Ilana is here. Says hi everyone. Have you ever tried using this deck under a black light? It looks gorgeous. Imagine the paradoxical will be really cool for that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Modfather says, Simon, you have the patience of a saint.
I wasn't quite sure why.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe just because you've got to listen to my bullshit all day.
And then Sandra Chris, a long walk down a windy beach to a cafe that's shut. Are you and Sandra going to take a long walk down a sandy beach, a windy beach?
I mean, I wouldn't mind, but I'd like to go to a cafe that's open, Sandra. So let's make sure that if we do that, the cafe is most certainly open because I'll need my coffee. Right, next swords.
Yeah, I've just picked out one from the swords.
Oh, I've got 4. Maybe I should pick my favourite. Right, I'll pick my favourite. You go first.
So the 9. I really love this card. It doesn't have the bedspread, but it's got like that same sort of crisscross effect on the bedstead. But I love everything about it. You know, it's what we call the nightmare card, but there's that little demon on the shoulder that's nagging away and gnawing away, biting down, you know, that sort of thing that just, and then she's biting down on her finger as well. But I even love like the demonic cat that's at the bottom on the bedspread. But yeah, it's a really interesting take on the 9 of Swords.
Nice. I'm going to pick the 7. Just I particularly like this image because you can see the failed attempts around about them. So they're basically trying to swallow this sword, but they're doing it in this really obscure way. And they've failed so many times before, and yet they seem to be continuing to try it the same way. And it's like, you know, not only do you need to realize that if you want to achieve this thing, you need to maybe change up a bit and try something different, but you're really like lucky that you've not hurt yourself so far, that you've not done yourself some damage. And you know, how far do you want to test that? So I think this is one that has a lot of meaning for me that I wouldn't necessarily usually get from the 7 of Swords. So yeah, this is definitely a cool card, and it's one that I quite like when it comes up. It speaks quite loudly to me.
Yeah, it is a fab card.
It's actually Cups, Swords, 7 of Swords. And
Sandra said, yes, let's Chris, but not sure about that comment.
Right, Pentacles. How many have you got?
2.
Okay. I will. Oh, no, I think I can narrow it down to 3. I had 4, but I can take one out.
I think it's going to use a poker comment and say, I'll raise you.
Well, yeah, I'm raising you to 3. Okay,
You go first then if you've got 3.
Then, yeah. So the ace, just because it's got this dragon, and I think it's a fantastic image.
It is, especially the design of that pentacle as well. Beautiful.
Yeah. So cool.
Mine's the 3. I really like this because it's. Have you got that as well?
Yep.
When we think of like perfecting a craft and all that sort of thing, but it's also about working with others. And what I really like that is they're co-creating, but they're all working on each other.
Yeah.
And there's that what's the word? Not is it symbiotic?
Yeah. Working
Is that
together,
right? Yeah, where they're just all, you know, and what it's perfect, isn't it? It's the perfect way that's how to assist and work together, collaborate to get a job done, but they're all
yeah.
helping each other out. And I think it's a brilliant illustration of that.
Yeah. And it's the idea that if you know one element is more important than the other, because if you take one out,
Uh-huh.
then there's someone who's not being repaired or being worked on, or you know what I mean. So everyone is contributing something
Yeah.
that's crucial to the collective. Um, so yeah, I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And then my last one is the 10. And it's I love they're playing chess. There's something I don't love so much about this, and it's the fact that the chessboard is sitting on this wee person underneath. I don't I'm not sure how I feel about that aspect of it, but if we take looking at
Using them
the
as a table.
yeah, exactly. But the whole meaning of this is this is a father who's teaching his son, or a parent teaching their child how to play chess, and it's that idea of passing down that legacy, passing down that knowledge, those skills, that wisdom, that I think is actually quite important for the Ten of Pentacles. It's that idea of passing that down. It's not just about passing on money, and passing on wealth. It's about passing on life skills and knowledge and understanding of the world, and enabling that child to be able to go and create for themselves what this person's obviously accomplished. Um, so I think that the messages from this card are pretty cool. I suppose I just don't like that it's at the expense of of this wee person.
Yeah. It's almost like they're in a court, a royal court, and that's a peasant that you can act as a table for us.
Yeah, yeah,
That
exactly. What was
superiority
your
of it.
your other card?
Um, it's very different to it's the 7, sorry, but it's very different when we think of the 7 and that sort of that plateau and taking stock. But again, I suppose it's somebody that's in an outdoor scene. But it's just this is the card as well that was sent as an art card for me is in the set when I ordered from Patrick, which had the beautiful blue sky, and it completely changed the image. But it's that cutting into the tree and that tree, the bleeding. So for me, when we think of the Rider Waite, where he's kind of, I think he's leaning on something like a plow or something like that, or a
Mm,
hoe or something that's used to kind of cut down plants and trees. It just kind of reminds me of the damage that we can do, to our environment. There's all the blood spilt on the floor as well. So I just thought it was an interesting take on it. I particularly liked it because I received that as an art print as well.
yeah, brilliant.
So there we have it. That's our faves. Any dislikes?
No, I don't think so. No, there's no particular cards that I really don't like about it. What about you? You get any cards you don't like?
No, I mean, I've got ones that are perhaps least favorite. I mean, I really don't.
Okay.
I've never been that fond on the strength card.
Strength,
It's
right.
okay. I don't, but it's just, I don't know. He just seems like a bully, a real bully.
Yeah,
That sort of brute, really prizing the jaw open. And I was just like, oh, But
yeah,
other than that, there's nothing really that I don't like. 'Cause I just love this deck. I love it so much. So
yeah, yeah. No, I don't. I'm kind of just browsing through again just now to see if there's anything that sticks out at me, but no, uh, I don't think there's anything I particularly don't like. I mean, you know my feelings on your kind of a Solobusca type 3 of swords is. So there's always going to be that, but I still like it. I still think the image is brilliant. Yeah. So what about overalls? Like, what's your overall type feelings on it, I guess?
It's a deck that is very special to me, one that I will never part with. And like I said to you before, it's a deck that I've got a deep connection with, so it's not one that I don't think I'd ever read for others, unless they specifically asked, but I would be a bit cautious and wary of that. But yeah, it's fantastic. I've loved it since I've got it. I've never grown tired of it. Yeah, I do need to work with the paradoxical more though, because I haven't yet. If you watched last month, you'll realise that I'd forgotten I'd even got it. This is a paradoxical version. We didn't decide on next month's deck, did we?
We didn't know. So I suppose we can do that for next. It can just be a surprise, can't it?
Yeah.
Or maybe we'll announce it closer to the time.
Because say though, as soon as the it's put up on, as in streamed, not streamed, but as soon as we launch it, they'll see it anyway. But yeah, we'll have a chat about that. So that date, we go for the middle of the month, don't we? Is that right?
Usually we do the first Thursday of the month.
First.
But it's just the last couple of months with of course my calendar won't have January in it because it's a 2023 calendar. Yes,
so
I think that would be
Thursday is the 4th.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that should be all right. I am Sheffield that day because that's our first training day, 4th and 5th, but we're not until 9 o'clock, so there's plenty of time. So yeah, 4th of Jan.
Excellent.
Next
That
year.
sounds good.
And it will be a surprise because we ain't got a Scooby. What are we going to do at this point?
Yeah. As long as we remember to work out between us what we're going to do, then we'll be all good.
Yeah. Well, we're on together anyway, Boxing Day, aren't we? So
yeah.
But I mean, normally we show decks, but I've probably got one deck, I think, for Christmas.
Yeah.
So I might need to think about that.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm getting. I'm pretty sure Sandy's maybe got me a deck or two, but I've not done a birthday haul video yet. Neither have I. Really should do that. But yeah, we'll see what we get. I'm sure between us we'll probably have some woo things for Christmas that we can show off.
Aye. All right. Well, thank you, Chris, as per usual. Thank you to everybody in the chat. It's been fun to hang out. Moira just comes in. Hello, late again.
Oh, Moira, we're just finishing up. But thank you very much for popping in and saying hello. But yeah, we're just finishing up. So yeah, no, thanks to you as well, Simon. I always really enjoy these. So I do. So looking forward to the
Sorry, I've been very disorganized over the last couple of weeks. I promised my New Year's resolution is to do better in January.
Oh, for goodness sake, your version of disorganized is probably me in a normal day, so it's fine, don't worry about it. Me rocking up at 5 to 9.
That's fine. All right then. Well, just stay on and I'll say goodbye to you properly. But thanks everyone, and we will see you. I'm not live on Saturday on the Hermit's Cave because I've got a Christmas, one of 2 Christmas events coming up, but I will be on the next Saturday. Have you got anything on your channel, Chris?
Let me see. My mind just went blank as soon as you asked me that. No, I actually think next Thursday I might not be live. I'm not sure. There was talk of someone maybe doing a bit of a Zoom around about the time that I'm normally live. So yeah, I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to see what happens. So Yeah, we'll I've nothing major planned anyway.
Okay,
So
cool. All right then. Bye everyone. See you next time.
see you later, folks. Bye bye.